Welcome to the new Overlords Podcast, a video game show where I'm joined every week by my untwistable co-host. It's Sema. Hello there, Sema.
Hi, Max. I think that might be the nicest thing you've ever said
You're
to me.
untwistable. Somebody asked me today because the Dune launch is tomorrow, and I said, "Here's who's playing." These we got like a half a dozen people. It's not a huge group, maybe a couple more that are going to be playing with us, and we're going to try to decide a server. And they said, "Oh." And I said, Sema will be there with us in spirit. And somebody said, "Oh, weren't you able to twist her arm and get her into the kickoff of Dune?" And I said, Sema is pretty untwistable.
That's right.
She knows what she's about.
Yeah. I really appreciated that, actually.
Yeah, which is completely true. So I'll make comments and I'll say things, but I know when you know, and I won't bother because you know. And if you decide you might change your mind, but then you'll change your mind. I will not change your mind. To be clear.
Back at you.
So you are not going to be playing Dune, but I will. We will talk a little bit about that today, but not too much. We're going to be talking about something else. We're going to be talking about Runescape Dragonwilds because I needed something to distract myself. So I picked up an early access survival game. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But first, we've got a little bit of news.
Good news, everyone.
First up in the news, I was hoping, did we actually know that it was coming out? I don't think we did as of last week's show. It was just a wish. I think I was only wishing last week. Yeah. So I was only wishing last week that there would be a No Man's Sky update in time for my plane ride that's coming up in about a week. And I got my wish halfway. There is an update. It actually came out today. So again, Sean dropped some emojis. Some people he dropped some emojis. I retweeted. I'm like, because first it was just a rasher of bacon. That was the emoji. And everybody's like, update's coming. And then what he does is he does one with a little guy with the face and uses the emojis as part of the little guy with the face. And then somebody said, what does that mean? And I said, well, that usually means we're 2 days out. You have to wait until he does the cowboy emoji with the bacon emojis built into the cowboy ASCII art. And when that shows up, you'll know it's 24 hours out. I nailed it. It's exactly what happened. He did like one emoji. The next day he did 2 emojis. So this was all like over the weekend. Then he did the little guy. And then the next day he did, this was like overnight. He did the cowboy. And then like 6 hours later, the update showed up on the website. So it's right on schedule, right? That's how it works for Sean putting those updates out. However,
patterns, man.
It's only half of what I was wishing for. There is no expedition this update, which I'm a little sad about. Still looks pretty cool. I'll get in there and play it. And instead what I'll do, and I might not even get to this new content, because I'm only so on the content.
What is in the new update? So
there's a system in the game that after you play it a little bit, you'll get this mission that says, hey, there's a settlement out there on this random planet that needs your help. So if you go fly there to the settlement, it's just like 3 little buildings, and it's like being attacked by the corrupted drones. And if you go and clear those drones out, and this is the first time you've done this, you go and clear those drones out and you fight them, you can then go into the little town hall and they'll say, hey, do you want to be mayor of our little outpost, our little settlement? They're called settlements. And then if you say yes, you then are the mayor of the settlement. And then you go through a process of adding buildings. So each new building that you build, each new set of the settlement itself is like producing its own sort of currency. You grow your settlement over time, and you get to pick which building you're going to build next, and it changes both the aesthetics and some of the mechanics of how your little settlement works. It's like a little mini game. It's not it wasn't super deep. What this update does is it makes it a little deeper. Again, not super deep, but a little bit deeper. There's different kinds of and styles of settlements now. You can also, it used to be you could only be the mayor of one settlement. Now I think you can have up to 4 settlements that you're managing. And then everything in the settlement got a little bit deeper too, which is you can walk around and talk to the citizens, and they have attributes of their own, and how you interact with them and what they bring to your settlement is different based on their stats and bonuses. And then when you do something good for your settlement, they might have a little party, and you can see on the screen here, there's a little fireworks going off. That's new. So it just added another layer of depth to this whole little settlement mini game. I set up
I
a
like this.
settlement when it first came out and built it up until it was all built up, and then liked the process, but then never went back.
I like this little slider thing they have on the website to show it. You can just
Yeah.
it's the before and after. You just seamlessly slide it back and forth.
Yeah, of how of like the before and after, how cool it is going to be. It is a fun little mini game, and with the depth, maybe there'll be a little bit more to it. I'm sort of a very experienced player, and the long-term benefits of the settlement, like producing resources for me and producing units and like making me rich, I don't need anymore in my main save.
Mm-mm.
There's a 32-bit signed integer that holds the maximum number of like currency that you can have in the game, which is, so it's like 4 billion credits. I'm at the maximum. So
Of course
having like a
you
new
are.
little mini game that like gives me more credits, they don't go anywhere because I'm at the cap. So that part's not interesting in the long term, but
Need to
starting
go
it up,
shopping.
building it up, is still like a little thing. Well, there's like nothing to buy anyway. I've also already bought all the things. There's like a secondary currency that is a little bit more interesting, called nanites, and you can use that to upgrade some things that I haven't upgraded all the way. But the main currency, the money, the Republic credits, that's not as interesting as part of the base game. Yeah, so cool. Oh, you can put this little pond. I think it's like maybe a building unit you can build on one of your plots. It looks like a little swimming pool, and then you can fish in it.
Oh,
Because they added fishing into the game last year as one of their updates. So yeah, I'll probably do it. I love playing No Man's Sky on the airplane, and it's my number one game on Steam Deck because I can dive deep. It controls really well with the controls on the Steam Deck and with a controller. It controls really well. So with that, it's an easy thing to play. I can play it on the Steam Deck. It looks really good. And then it's a nice, fun survival game that I can dive deep into. Other games like Ark or Valheim, I could spend a lot of time with, but they just don't operate that well on a Steam Deck with the controller controls. If you plug a mouse and a keyboard into a Steam Deck, you can play anything. But I can't do that on a plane. Well, I can, and I have, but I should. It's not as convenient. Yeah. So I'm sure I'll play it.
cool.
And
Yeah.
I'll probably, though, as I said, I'll probably start a new save. So it's like, starting from scratch, start from zero. And with that, I don't know if I will get to the point where I am I'm all up to settlement ready with the new save. But we'll see. If I am, I will also get to play with the new settlement parts. Fun. Oh, there was this post from Sean today. He posted, so they're also launching on Switch 2 tomorrow, which is coming out tomorrow, Switch 2, and everybody's releasing their stuff on Switch 2. And Sean and Hello Games put out a little trailer that said, hey, we're going to be launching on Switch 2 as well. And one of the things that they put in their, like one of their trailer photos said, we've been hiding dev kits, DEV, dev-kits in the closet, and now can unveil that we've been working on the Switch 2. Well, yay for AI. AI made a one of the auto photo captioning It said for the last year, we've had this little secret room hiding some deaf kids.
Right in the closet. Yeah.
A little secret room hiding. So, so Sean said, please ignore the auto-generated captions. We did not have a secret room hiding deaf kids. Nintendo never once sent us deaf kids. We were hiding dev kits. So that's hilarious. Yay for AI. You did it again. Also in the news, you saw a little bit of this, didn't you, Sema? The Subnautica.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited about Subnautica. It's a old school favorite. Old school now, but it's only like 5-6 years old or whatever, the original. It's really fun and stylized and it's definitely its own game, but like a survival game. So it brought a whole different spin to the survival genre because you're dropped in this pod into the ocean and you basically need to start building your surviving underwater, in submariner style. You build a little vehicle, so you go on excursions, bring things back to your pod. Then you need to start building an underwater base. And all of it is in service of trying to figure out why you crashed and trying to get off the planet. So there's even a little bit of story. It's going to come to early access later this year. The devs put out a little Q&A every once in a while. This is a little short 10-minute video that they put out this week. Doesn't say a lot, but it's fun to see that they're still trucking along, and we're going to get it later in the year. That's why I threw it in here. So that's cool. Cool. The one development point that I appreciated, which they learned through, they'd had an expansion for the original Subnautica, which was called Below Zero. And they tried to expand the story and they gave a voice to the main protagonist, like your character. And you got out of the water and you were on land a lot more. And everybody kind of went, oh, that's not why we like this game. So Subnautica 2, part of the Q&A, said, we're definitely going back to more of the Subnautica 1 style. You'll be on a different planet and with different things going on and a different story, but you'll be, and you can play co-op, but it's a solo first with co-op available, not like it has to be multiplayer. It's not like multiplayer first. And there's not like the story's not getting in the way. It's much more in the Subnautica 1 style, which I think will please the fans and me. That sounds good. You've been playing some Souls-likes. You've been playing some Elden Ring Night Rain, Sema?
No, sir. I have not. Have you?
No, I have not. It did not. And it would have had to like do something different than they had been telegraphing.
I mean,
for me to want to play it, but not I don't think it's brilliant.
I was intrigued by Night Rain. I like that they are doing something different, actually.
Yeah, different for them.
Right.
But they explained it pretty well, and it is as they explained, including it's hard. So that's one of the first. There's two bits of news. One is it's selling really well. It sold like 2 million copies on the first day, so which is great. It's so cool that you can have these niches, and we were talking about it. There's 130 million plus monthly active users on Steam, and the fact that 2 million sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. That's a very successful game. They sold 2 million units on their first day, and that's like less than 2% of the Steam users. It's like that's a great population of gamers. That's such a fertile ground. I would love to have 1% of the Steam users check out my game.
I love that there's just more and more games that are saying, no, we don't have to have every gamer out there. We don't have to, sand off all the corners. We can go right down the direction we want to go, and we'll attract enough people for us. I love that.
Right. Yeah. If we can get 1/10 of 1%, we will be wildly successful.
Right. Exactly.
So that's cool. And then the other thing is, it turns out it's hard. So hard that it seemed like they didn't balance it very well for anything less than 3 players. They were always like, you can play it with two or one players. You could play it solo. And it turned out it was kind of like not. Apparently, if you were like super, super elite, you could technically get it done, but almost normal people could. So they're nerfing it. They're correcting that. So it will be a little bit more soloable if you want to play it in a solo mode. But again, even with it being super hard and kind of like not soloable and having to play with 3 players and find friends, and sold 2 million copies. It also has those 2 words in front of the game, Elden Ring. So there's that. They're a very respected developer, and that they're going to be making something interesting and special. So they deserve trust in putting games out there. You did watch this video, didn't you, Sema, on the Witcher 4 tech? So this is just the Unreal. This is at the Unreal conference, sort of the Unreal State of Unreal presentation. So it's just a tech demo.
Right. And it's like sort of an ad for Unreal Engine 5.6, but just so fun to look at because it's so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And also just fabric that moves. Yeah, it's very fun to
everything
look at.
is like super dynamic, and like when they show the horse and then they're like, see how the muscles move under the skin? We have like muscle architecture on the rig that it makes it look this way when it moves. And then it can move because of the way they've got sort of like the new animation tech in Unreal 5.6. Siri could approach in the tech demo. Siri can approach from like the back or the front or either side. It doesn't have to be the trick, which you do in games is you move the character and the mount, you structure it so there's an exact point on the ground where the character is standing, and there's an exact position that the mount is standing, and then you play an animation montage, which is exactly the same to map to that position. You don't have to do that when you have the IK rig that can snap from any position, and you just need to say, okay, her leg needs to go over in the middle and needs to end up in the stirrup at this, at 0.7 seconds later, which then is mind-blowing and very natural, and prevents you from having to fake it by doing 5 different mounting animations, for example.
Right.
The cloth, very dynamic cloth, and it's flapping in the wind and not clipping through everything. And then they talked a little bit about the foliage system, which is not fully developed, but soon will be completely fully developed, which a little bit of game dev talk. The way foliage typically works, where you have leaves on a tree, and this is the way most games work right now up until this new system that's going to make it sort of like change the game, is you kind of have cards. You could think of it as like cards. So think of like the branch of a tree and a couple cards which might have like 3 leaves on the card with a transparency mask, so you don't see the actual rectangles. But then you only have the like 1 polygon with the 3 leaves in it, so you have many fewer polygons sort of strapped to a branch. The way nanite works, because of the way the decomposition of actual objects that the engine is able to do, and it's so what you're seeing here on the screen, it like turning it into voxels when you get further and further away, is you model every single blade of grass fully modeled, every pine needle on the branch of a pine tree, every chunk of the pine cone, you model that. In fact, if you use transparency masks on cards, nanite freaks out and it performs poorly. So if you go do a search on YouTube, you'll find some of these videos that say nanite sucks. A lot of it is because they're still using some of the old style or the current style of foliage masking, which nanite does not perform well with. In the future, it's going to change the game, because you're going to have all of these modelers in these games making foliage where every single pine needle, every single blade of grass can have its own full model of its own mesh, and then just let the engine take care of making sure it looks good from far away, making sure it looks good up close. It's really, really cool. A bunch of it is in there right now with the foliage. The parts that aren't in there, that's still coming with, not even until Unreal 5.7, is you can make like foliage blow in the wind. So like in our game, the grass blows in the wind a little bit, and there's tricks you're doing. So it's actually the material itself is changing a little bit. You're not actually moving any of the models. You're telling the material to shift a little bit in world space when you draw yourself material. The way they'll do it in the future in Unreal 5.7 is the nanite will take care of even kind of what's that world position offset effect, and be able to have the trees and the grass blowing in the wind and all of that taken care of by nanite in that system. Anyway, dev talk. So there you go. Look it up. The demo is just beautiful. It is tech demo. It is not like game footage. They wanted to make that clear. But they show like big crowds, and the performance of the big crowds. They show like dynamic events happening. The interaction they show like in the second half of the video between a vendor talking to someone who's like at their stall buying fish, and the vendor keeps like picking up different fish and like handing them to the other NPC, and the NPC like picks one up and puts it in his basket, and then he hands one off to his wife to gut it, and she puts it on the table and guts it and hands it back to him, and he lays it on the counter, and the NPC picks it up. All of that like interaction is just so immersive and really advanced. It's super cool. Anyway, I'm gushing.
I mean, it's worthy of some gushing. That I like the idea that they want to make the NPCs basically as, I don't know if realistic is the right word, as Siri.
Yes.
They said that, like, it's not like Siri, who's this beautiful work of art, and then these 2D NPCs everywhere. The NPCs are getting the same treatment, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just like an NPC with an idle animation standing at a stall going, nice day for fishing.
Yeah.
Is that what you were just saying?
Yep.
Exactly. But then also in 5.6 is the next gen of their metahuman technology, which does the mapping of mocap and humans onto the metahuman faces. So you do get all of that, both with the NPCs, and then as you saw with Siri there in that shot where she's like side-eyeing the guy and giving him a sly look, and has got her sarcastic face on, and it comes through so beautifully. Claire Obscure is doing brilliantly with that. That's looking really good these days too. Here's these two fishermen looking. He's like picking it up, and okay, because the one guy says, "Oh, you don't need to gut that one." He's like, "Fine, here." Drops it in his hand, and he picks it up and puts it in his basket. It's just so well rendered. I just I wanna like live in this game dev world. Ours is a little bit more lower scale and stylized, and there's only 6 of us, not 600. So we're not doing this.
Right.
But this would be fun to do someday, to work in this environment. So cool. One other side note, since we're talking about CD Projekt Red, one friend of the show, I'll say friend of the show, but we did talk to him enough times, and we got to interview him on our Behind the Games podcast when we did that series. David Statz, who we knew from BioWare, and then we got to interview. I think we actually interviewed him a couple times. I think we interviewed him at BioWare, and then we interviewed him in sort of that transition period in between. He, this past week, announced on LinkedIn, so this is public, he just started up as a senior systems designer at CD Projekt Red.
That's really exciting.
Congrats, David. That is amazing. He's actually working out of Boston. I didn't even know CDPR had an office studio in Boston. I was wondering if he was going to have to move to Europe. But sounds like no. And boy, I don't know if he's working on, he's probably working on either The Witcher or on Cyberpunk 2077 Part 2. Um, and either one would be incredible. Both of those, you just know, are going to be amazing. So that's I'm happy for him. That is so cool. And I DM'd him. I said, hey, congrats. I don't know which one of these you're working on, but I think it's gonna be awesome. And he said, oh yeah, hey, thanks. But he didn't tell me. If we find out, or he can talk about it at some point, maybe we'll try to get him on and he can talk about it or talk about the work they're doing. Some people have lamented the fact that CD Projekt Red is stepping away from their game engine and going to Unreal. I think it's obviously things are looking beautiful and they'll be able to work well. I love Unreal as an engine. I'm really satisfied with it. And our game is a little stylized indie game. And it's beautiful. We're not using, highly rendered metahuman, super realistic,
right. It's not correct that every Unreal Engine game that they have to look alike. They don't. It's just a tool.
I composed in my head an internet response to some people that were having that argument and posting, why is everybody moving to Unreal? It all looks the same. Every Unreal game looks the same. And and in my head, I wrote up the internet response, which I did not post, which said, oh yeah, all the same. Like Clair Obscur Expedition 33, Borderlands 4, Tekken 8. You got those stylized fighting game. And then I started looking more at some of these almost like indie claymation style. There's our game. It doesn't have to. It can, because if you're using mega scans and photogrammetry and you take a photo of a blue spruce and you put it in your game and someone else does photogrammetry on a blue spruce and puts it in their game, it's going to look like a blue spruce. And that's okay. It should look like a blue spruce. That's what you're trying to have in your game. So yes, in that way, some games will be trending towards looking the same. But as any of the engines, Unreal, even Godot, starts using more and more of those tools and someone wants to make their game as photorealistic as possible, those will all look the same. Are we still live? Is everything okay?
I think so.
Yeah, no, I think we're okay. My test stream over on the side blanked out there for a second, so I got a little bit worried. We're good. We're all fine here. Yep. Bit rate looks just fine. Okay.
Right. But just to add on to what you say, but you can use Unreal Engine to make a stylized blue spruce or whatever tree you're after, or you could make it not even a tree. You could make it aliens. I mean, it's if you really look at which games are using Unreal, there's a vast variety. It's the designers of the game and what they want the game to be that makes it look alike, that makes games like, not the engine.
Right. A little bit of the coming news, coming soon announcements for the games. I don't know if you heard about this one, but there's this game called Dune Awakening. This week's show is not about Dune Awakening. Last week's and 3 weeks ago was.
I mean, I'm laughing because yes, he's right. All our recent shows we've been talking about it a lot, but also in between every show, it's a lot of Dune Awakening.
Yes. And if we do a show next week, I might be traveling. If we do a show next week, it will be on Tuesday and it'll be about Dune Awakening.
Yeah. Just fair warning.
Couple bits of news though, as we're getting ready for the launch tomorrow morning for the Head Start. Somebody last week in the chat room, I forgot who it was, somebody posted on the YouTube video, what you guys should be calling it, or a good way to term it is Head Start. Yes, that's a great term, because early access has been broken as a term. You can't call it that anymore. So it's like Head Start. It's launch Head Start. Yes. That is tomorrow morning. So that's Thursday, June 5th at 9 a.m. Central, global launch. Everybody will around that time be able to play. 2 bits of news that came out in the past week, though, that sort of sent the community into a bit of a tizzy in a good way, is they announced private servers will be available starting tomorrow. Private servers will be hosted. So you have to get a hosted one. You can't host it yourself. And it's the three biggest hosters. So Gportal, Nitrado, and XRealm. They will host it. Because what the hosters need to do is you will only get a private Haga Basin, which is sort of like it's pretty big. It's everything we played in the beta weekend, but probably like 4 times what we played in the beta weekend is the rest of Haga Basin. You will get that map as a private server that you can invite up to, 40 of your friends to. Or none of your friends. You could have your own. But what the hosters need to do is host of the rest of the server infrastructure, which includes the social cities, Harko Village and Arakeen, and the Deep Desert. And a bunch of private servers. So each hoster will be then stacking up a bunch of the private servers that they rent out. And we're not sure how they'll load balance this yet, but all of those will feed into a semi-public within that hoster, Deep Desert. So you don't get to control what happens in the Deep Desert. It's still PvP rules in the Deep Desert, still all the standard rules in the Deep Desert, but you do get a couple rules, only like 3 rules that you can tweak, as well as being able to lock down who gets to join your Haga Basin. So in your Haga Basin, you can change it to full PvP, no PvP, or the standard, what it is. You can shut off sandstorms if you want. I kind of like the sandstorms. I think that's a nice effect, and they're not very disruptive. Just a little bit disruptive and allows you to think and realize it's a real world. And I love the graphical view of them like sweeping in over the horizon.
And an immersion thing.
What's the third thing? There was like a third thing. Taxation, which that's useful. So you could disable taxation. So everybody who builds a base on your private Haga Basin could leave it there and leave the game for 2 months and not have to worry about their bases being just, decaying, which does happen on the official servers. You have a 21-day window before you need to re-up your taxes and refill your generators before things start to decay on the official servers, which keeps things from being littered around with stuff that never goes away for people that have quit the game. But yeah, so interesting news as far as that goes. And then the next thing, which we're all pondering right now, is they announced the server names. So there will be a bunch of servers for the head start, US Central, US West, US East, and then a bunch of global servers as well. We are trying hard to avoid so our little new Overlords AIE groups are trying hard to avoid any of the servers where a big streamer is headed and their community of delightful folks. Some of them are delightful.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're trying to avoid that at all cost. It's hard to tell, though. It's hard to find. We did find a couple of the big communities like Co-Carnage. He himself, I like him. He's a good streamer, and he would probably have a fine community. He himself, though, is going to have a private server with a smaller group of like insiders. And then the rest of his community has decided that they're going to go together to one of the public servers, and they picked one. We're going to not go to that server, as an example. Again, not because it would be fine, but we would like to be able to get everyone in that we can, and not have like queues and that kind of thing. Too.
I mean,
even if they're beautiful, wonderful people.
There's a certain, loss of control of your own destiny if you go onto a server where there's already a huge community of others.
Right, exactly.
Which may work for what you want and may not.
So by tonight, we will have picked a target server. Who knows? Best laid plans. We might have to change that up. And if things get super weird and crazy, we might end up going private and re-rolling, but that might be like a week down the road at best. But we're going to pick a server tonight, and we're going to use, I think it was Damone Kim who explained this concept, which was never pick the first server on the list, never pick the last server on the list. Taking out like the first quarter of the servers because people are just going to go and pick one real quick that they first see. And then you never pick the cool names. So like if it's like the Kablarnal server versus the, the stab masters. Because everybody's gonna, just the random in your head. Yeah, oh, I want to be a stab master. I don't want to be a Kablarnal. I can't even pronounce that. So we're gonna use some of those rules to try to pick like a lower in the list, harder to say. But now that that's common knowledge, maybe everybody's gonna end up on the Kablarnal server. Who knows? Why is everyone on the Kablarnal server? It's because it's the weirdest, hardest to pronounce, hardest to spell server in the list. So we'll have one. It will probably also be U.S. Central for us because we have people across the U.S. and maybe even outside the U.S. that will be playing with us. But we definitely have people on West and East, even in our little group of 6-8 people. So we'll try to get everybody in. Again, if things go off the rails, if you can get on the server, even if you're not in the same siege, which is like sort of like the layer in between, that's still fine because you can jump in, you can cross those siege boundaries. You can't build in someone else's siege, but you can easily go play with other people wherever they are. And if you could even like participate with, if the guild was on one siege and your home base is on another siege, you can go to the guild building. If we assign a guild building, it's just somebody sharing their building and use it as much as you want. So we'll try to all get on the same siege. If we can't, we'll try to get on the same server. And if none of that works, we'll decide if we want to like roll the dice and do something else a few days or a week down the road, or 2 weeks, because I'll be gone a week down the road for a week. So yeah, sounds good. And then the one other bit of game news, Ark. So what we were supposed to be distracted by is Monday. We were supposed to have 3 days of distraction with Ark Survival Ascended. They did an update for Unreal Engine 5.5 and added more to the Astraeos map. That was going to have a bunch more content. And they were supposed to start their 10-year anniversary event. And that's got like a little event you can turn on and stuff, little things in game, and get a little birthday cake that you can have. Well, on Monday they said, "Oops, running into a couple problems. It's gonna be tomorrow. Tomorrow, we'll be good tomorrow." And then Tuesday came, and they said, "Oh, well, now it's gonna be Wednesday night. So it's Wednesday night now." So now they're in a little bit of a tough situation because now we're coming up quick on Wednesday night, and they haven't announced today, as far as I can tell, that they won't actually be releasing tonight. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. The community in general and the content creators, nobody's really fazed or surprised by this. They're basically saying, would it be a 10-year retrospective on Ark if it wasn't delayed? Would it really match what we expect? Nah.
Maybe they did it on purpose, it's for the nostalgia.
Yeah, somebody also, one of the content creators, was like, "Oh, do you think they're delaying it so they release at the same time that like Dune is releasing and the Switch 2 is releasing because they want to steal that thunder?" No.
No.
No, I don't think. I think this is probably quite disappointing to their marketing department. The inside news seems to be saying that they're having some problems with certification on the consoles, and that's what's delaying them. However, you could have given yourself, you could have done a little bit of risk planning and made sure that your console certification was going to be done 2 weeks in advance. So if you had a week of delays, that would have been fine. But that's not how they run things over there with Studio Wildcard and Snail Games, which we know. So that's just the way things are. But that's it. That's it for the news. We will be watching for more news next week because Summer Games Fest is actually coming out on Friday. So we will be tuned in for that. So we could have some more news coming up next week. But that is it for the news for today, and a little bit fun discussion. This podcast, of course, is brought to you by Contemplation Games, a new indie studio making a game called Garden and a Goat. Go look it up. We could use a couple more wish lists and people in our Discord to come cheer us on and help us decide what to put in the game next. We've got some really fun things that are going to be unveiled in the next week. This is also brought to you by our community at New Overlords Discord and the AIE Guild. It's a big gaming community, AIE-guild.org. We have a new officer that was added in Star Wars The Old Republic, Quirkus. So shout out to Quirkus. Bunch of fun things going on there. We do have a bunch of people that we'll be playing Dune Awakening, of course, as I've said. So jump in either in AIE or in the New Overlords Discord. There are channels in there. It's the Nomads channel in the AIE Discord. We may make a Dune Awakening channel if we start taking over that channel. And it's the Dune Awakening channel in the New Overlords Discord. Jump in if you want to come play with us, and we'll tell you what server we're on, and you can try to get in there. We're going to be pretty solo for the first.
I mean, even if you just want to chat. I mean, you don't have to.
Right.
Even if you're playing on your own server, welcome to come and chat.
Right. We're mostly just going to be sharing tips, and everybody's going to be like experiencing it themselves for a while. We're not going to be doing like a hardcore group assault on the PvP objectives or things like that in the beginning. So probably for the first couple of weeks at least, it's going to be mostly solo, but trading tips and notes. And if you want to come visit other people's bases and share resources, there'll be some of that going on too. Could maybe use someone by tomorrow night to come with me to Vermilius Gap East and go assault testing station number 10. Maybe this weekend we could go do that. But the rest of it is going to be just get in there, have fun, experience the world, because it's worth it. It's cool. I can't wait to experience beyond what I already got to see. It's a lot more.
To be fair, the reason Max is even doing the head start is not because he wants to have a head start. It's because he just wants to start playing as soon as possible.
I'm just dying to play.
Yeah.
And I'll be kind of offline for a week the following week. So I do want to get some playing time in as well. I did a whole bunch of game dev last weekend. I implemented our cosmetic system, everything from the data access all the way to a live preview window. And I did a little my own little personal death march for a few days in there to get it all done so that I would be prepared to be able to play a little Dune Awakening this weekend. But that was really fun, and everybody's, I think, going to have fun with that too. That is that. Now, Sema, there's something new.
It looks like meat's back on our menu, boys.
No way. God. Finally.
Oh, my God. Oh, I kind of like the magical bread.
We have some new meat on the menu, Sema. We've talked about RuneScape in the past, haven't we?
Yeah, I was going to say, and when you say we, really, it's you. You played it.
Yeah, I played it. But we've talked about it, and you obviously have looked into it quite a bit, and you know exactly what's going on. And you watched Jimmy's video. We'll talk about Jimmy in a second, who we like. It's a RuneScape, but is it really?
Right.
Is it Valheim with a little bit of RuneScape paint on it? Maybe that's a little bit more what it is. So let's talk about it. It's early access, so it's definitely early. It is a Valheim style survival game. So in that, for anybody who's played Valheim, you are used to that experience of you're dropped into this world and you need to pick up some rocks and make an axe. And then you cut down some trees, and then there's the tiers that you start to unlocking. The first thing you do in Valheim is you're like making yourself some primitive armor, and then you've got copper. You've got copper, so you're making things out of copper. And then you get to the swamp, and in the swamp you get the iron. And then now you can make the iron things in the next, because you're up to that next tier. And then you get to the next biome, which is the mountains in Valheim. And then the mountains, you unlock silver, and silver unlocks like the next tier of all the crafting stations and the next tier of all the gear. And so it's that same feel of progression. It's that same process of unlock the next thing with some twists thrown in. So I played it quite a bit. I played about 10 hours. I would say, probably a third to a halfway through the progression, and got enough of a feel of it to understand where the similarities were to other kind of survival crafting games and where the differences are. So yeah, and it's cool. It's cool. It's good. It didn't pull me in and hook me as much as like a Valheim, but that's okay. And it's also very early. And you can feel some of those rough edges of sort of like being early access. And where I felt the rough edges were a little bit of extra friction and just sort of how things work, and a little bit of things like the things you're making, and how like the UI was a little bit clunky in some ways. Like I'm trying to make a thing and I'm trying to like drag stuff around, and it's not really working exactly how I would expect. It's not broken, but you know that it's kind of like some of those quality of life things you would expect to come with down the road.
Really? So even more clunky than Ark?
Yes, but it's also, well, maybe yes and no. Maybe not more clunky than Ark, but it's the depth is so much less, and there's so many fewer things there that you would expect that they would.
There's fewer things to offset it. Yeah.
Right. Because it's not like there's like this really deep breeding system and you're trying to find out what the traits are on every single day. It's just like there's only like 4 different bad guys, and when the 4 bad guys don't do a thing, or the 3 animals you need to hunt don't do a thing, it's those rough edges show themselves a little bit more. One of their twists, and you can sort of see it in the video right now, is they do have a magic system, and it's kind of like it's also kind of weird because it's like 2 different things. And so let's talk about the RuneScape part, because the magic comes from RuneScape a little bit, but only a little bit. So there's NPCs that you talk to, and they have a little bit of a RuneScape flair. There's the wise old man, and that's like a RuneScape thing. So there's a content creator named Jimmy, and Jimmy has a really good. He's done a ton of RuneScape content over the years.
He's really well grounded in RuneScape.
Yes,
and he played it growing up. I mean, he comes by it honestly.
What was that RuneScape spin-off non-RuneScape game that came
Bright
out?
Shores.
Yeah, Brighter Shores. So he did a great decomposition of Brighter Shores and how Brighter Shores compares to RuneScape, and a lot of like detailed analysis. So his decomposition of Dragonwilds is the biggest contribution from RuneScape that they brought to this survival-like is sticking that name up there above the title, putting it up there, and that's most of it. It's not they didn't bring a lot of RuneScape to it, but they splashed a little bit of RuneScape paint around the edges.
Like if I remember correctly, one of the things that Jimmy said was like the old man who from RuneScape is there, but it's not clear why he's there.
Right. Don't know why he's there, and it's not really. It's like it's an NPC painted to look like the old man. But is it the RuneScape old man? I guess kinda. Why is he there? How is this world connected to the RuneScape lands, and what is going on? And shush. Just play your Dragonwilds.
Yeah, I mean, right. I mean, we don't know because we are not RuneScape people. We haven't grown up with it, and we don't play it. So what you can talk to is how it's similar or different from other survival games. So but the RuneScape part is kind of a question mark to us.
Right. And to someone who knows a ton about RuneScape, apparently, as well.
Yeah, it's not too RuneScape-y. Yeah.
Yeah. So the magic system, which is a little bit different, you don't have this kind of magic system in Valheim or many other of the survival likes just yet. But it's a little bit weird in its own right. You do have magic weapons, so you can pick a staff, and the staff can be like a fire staff or an ice staff, and you could do, or maybe it's like air, so it does like a wind blast, or a fire blast. So that's one way you kind of have magic. And the other way you kind of have magic is these core spells that you cast. You don't really cast them in battle. So you use the staff if you want to fight with magic. If you want to cast one of these spells, you hold Q and it brings up a radial menu. And then you can cast one of these spells. But there's only like 10 spells. So it's not a lot. And then the spells are interesting. So so it's different. You know, it's a thing. But so maybe it's more. Maybe it's like 20 spells, and you can swap these out. So one of them is called Astral Projection, one of the first spells you get, and it makes this axe, and you can cast the spell, cast the axe, and it goes like 30 meters away, and any tree it hits. So you feel like if you line up 2 trees, it chops down 2 trees instead of 1. So instead of having to like chop them down with your axe, you can chop them down with this spell. Cool. Okay. That's okay. So it's like a utility spell. There's 2 more spells in that vein which apply to trees, which are bark to bones. Like you need a bunch of bones and you have to hunt animals for the bones. So it's a crafting material. But you can also cast this spell on trees when you level up and get it, which will make a tree turn into a couple bones on the ground. Okay. I don't know exactly what's going on there, but okay, you need it. And the other one is you can turn a tree into peaches. And the peaches are then a crafting ingredient. You can eat them maybe if you need some food. You can just turn a tree into some peaches. Any tree. Okay, so it's fine. It's interesting. It's a thing. And then there's a couple that apply to mining. There's one that allows you sort of like an overhead third-person view when you're building. There's one that makes a little temporary hut that you can sleep in. There's one that you cast on like your furnace to make your furnace more efficient. There is one that's a shield that you can cast ahead of battle that will give you a little bit of armor. There's like a jump spell. So it's weird. They're not really like grouped into classes. They're kind of like a mix, like a couple, so there's like, there's a weapon enchant spell. So you can like cast fire on your weapons. So there's like, you pre-cast before you go out to fight stuff. And then you can have like the next 5 hits of your weapon have like an extra fire burn effect. There's a little bit of combat, a little bit of utility, a little bit of harvesting, a little bit of crafting buff that are spread around these 18 or so spells. It just feels not all that cohesive, but it's a little bit different. It's something else to do. It's something to have. But yeah, it does still feel a little bit weird and non-cohesive in some ways too. And then it being separate from I didn't get it right away. I was like looking at these spells. Well, when am I going to get like a fireball that I can cast at enemies? Well, they don't do that, but you get the staff and the staff has a fireball. So just make yourself a staff. Oh, that's weird. So it's not like I'm not casting a fireball. There is no fireball. I can't cast a combat spell, but I have a staff that can cast combat things. I don't know. It's a twist. It's a little bit weird. You have to like figure out what's going on. The things you craft are pretty straightforward. You sort of understand what those are. You can craft a bow. You can craft your armor. You have to craft your crafting tables. You have to make food. Water and food are pretty required and drain pretty quick. So you always got to be like eating food and drinking water. That in that way, or you start to feel bad and perform badly. So that I didn't like that much compared to like Valheim. So the way Valheim works is you never have to eat if you don't want to. You'll only have 10 hit points if you don't. And when you start the game, you only need 10 hit points. So it's perfectly fine. But you'll get one shot in the swamp, in the swamp crypts if you only have 10 hit points. So you need to get better and better food recipes, and you need to eat the food to get that 15-minute buff, which doubles your hit points or quadruples your hit points, or gives you 500 hit points on the end game foods. Okay. It seems like a good twist on the system where as the food decreases over time, if you run out of food, you don't die, but you could get one shot. But if you're just like walking around your house, hanging out, you don't need any food. You're cool. I did remember in Valheim, because you do have only the 10 hit points, as you're building your base, if you are just hanging out, often you will just go without food, but you got to remember that you still only have 10 hit points. And if you like jump off the roof, you take fall damage, and you take it's not a percentage fall damage. You take absolute fall damage. You kill yourself.
Also in Valheim, can't the trolls come and attack you in your base? I mean,
they can. But then you could like run away if you realize you have no health.
Yeah.
Or you can eat something real quick because you're in your base. They have these little, so in Valheim, you go to the swamp and there's these crypts, right? And they're not all that interesting or that dangerous. So you could go in the crypts and you fight the skeletons and stuff in the crypts, and you'll find these little thing called ember cores, or I forgot exactly what they're called in Valheim. Well, they have these crypts once you get to the swamp in Dragonwilds, but their crypts are a little bit more dungeon-like, and it's a little bit, they're not, so nothing's procedurally generated in Dragonwilds, so that's a little bit different as well. So the crypts are procedurally generated and the maps are procedurally generated in Valheim, which is some of the Valheim magic. Now, that wouldn't work as well because they're also telling a story in Dragonwilds and progressing towards these bosses that are, it's like more of a linear progression to these bosses, named bosses. Although we even have bosses in Valheim. But the crypts are a little bit more of like a dungeon where there's not really jumping puzzles, but like, like the spikes coming up out of the floor, and then the spikes go down, and then two seconds later, the spikes, it's on a timer. So you have to like move and like get past the spikes. And then there's the sentinels, and the sentinels are these rock golems, and you have to fight the sentinels. And if you fight the sentinels and you get through the crypts and you find your way and you pull the switch, you open the gate, you get the treasure chest at the end, and you get the special core, which allows you to do the same thing that you do in Valheim. The cores are used to make the portals, which are fast travel. So then you can make the portal thing you put on the ground to have fast travel between your bases in Dragonwilds. So again, a lot of those parallels to Valheim, but fine. I love Valheim. Another Valheim-like. I don't begrudge them doing that and putting out some RuneScape paint on it because people like RuneScape. It's working. It still works. It still works well.
Yeah.
And then the third tier, which is different, is you do have a main story that you're introduced to right away, which is this whole area and this town has been destroyed by the nasty dragon. So it's a bad dragon, and you got to go. Your job is to go kill the bad dragon. So it does give you then a reason to progress and an objective to go after, which I like in any survival game.
Right.
And you still have those in Valheim, but it's a little bit more nebulous. Odin challenges you to go out and prove your worth. And one of the ways you want to prove your worth is by killing some of the bosses. And each sort of like biome has a boss, and that boss drops a thing which gets you to the next tier. So it's less story-like. You're not killing Moder because Moder's bad. You're killing Moder because Moder, the dragon, is the end boss of the mountains and has a thing you need to prove your worth, to get you to the next tier, to unlock the next thing. And you just want to unlock the thing. If Moder handed it to you, you'd be perfectly happy just to take it and leave. Here, the dragon is bad. The dragon is annoying. The dragon is actually physically annoying to you in the game. While you're out wandering around, you'll hear the dragon like flying around, and you'll like look up in the sky and see the dragon flying. And then every once in a while, the dragon will do an area attack on the zone where you're hanging out. including on top of your house. It doesn't wreck your house, but it can it sprays acid pools on the ground. And one time it will be a bunch of acid circles, and you need to stay out of the circles, and they stay on the ground. The other time it does these long sweep, a long roadway lane of acid, but it can get in the windows of your house and have acid pools inside of your house too. And if you stand in the acid or you get touched by the acid in the early game, if you get touched by the acid, you'll just die. It's a dot, but you're going to die. In the later game, you have acid protection, food that you can craft. Yeah, weak maybe it's poison pools. Maybe it's not acid. It's weak anti-poison potions that Lazy Peon is making here. But you do hate the dragon pretty quickly. So you got that going for you. And then there's sub bosses along the way that are blocking your path to get to go then kill this dragon, which is both annoying you and the world. So here's this abyssal demon that you can go and kill. And you saw the boss bar come up at the top of the screen. Well, if you kill the abyssal demon, this is another RuneScape thing. Then you get the whip sword. Because the whip sword, if you kill the abyssal demon in RuneScape, you get the whip sword. So you do get there's another RuneScape thing thrown in, which is a weapon. And then you can see if you like that weapon or if you just end up going back to the bow. But yeah, so it's a thing. And that's your objective. And then so for the people that played it all the way through, and I saw some of the content creators, it's early access, right? So if you do that, you might only take 15 hours or 20 hours to go through those tiers, unlock the things, get to that fight, and kill the dragon. Then you're kind of done. So again, early access, the time, the roadway, the path to killing that dragon, and how long it takes is a little bit smaller, a little bit shorter than you would expect for a survival game like this too. But again, it's early access, and they have more planned. They have more maybe there's a bigger dragon. There's always a bigger dragon, Sema.
Right. Sounds like a good name for a raid team too.
Always the bigger dragon. What was our raid team?
There might be dad jokes.
Might be dad jokes. That was there may be dad jokes. Yeah. So I played it, and it's a game, and it has RuneScape in the name. So that I think kind of sums it up.
It's a decent game.
It is a decent game.
Is what I'm hearing.
It's not super buggy. It's just not.
If it's up your alley, then it's up your alley. It's nothing bad about it.
I would rank it, again, early access, so this will change. In its current state, I would definitely rank it below Valheim, below another one, Ember Mist, Ember Mist, Enshrouded.
Enshrouded. Okay, I did not know what you were going for there.
Enshrouded, I would definitely put a tier above. And Enshrouded, I would put V Rising definitely a tier above, a whole tier above those. Valheim, I would put a tier above just because of where it's gotten. Although Valheim's final third of their biomes annoys me. So it's definitely more accessible than Valheim in some ways as well, I would say. I think Enshrouded does much better with the story and the depth that the world has available to it. And I would say V Rising does much better on the combat and the progression, shines a lot more. But they're much more developed games as well. So we'll see as this develops where it goes. But if you want to try this out and you're kind of like a RuneScape player, and that's where you that's the kind of games that you grew up playing, this would be a great survival game to try out then, to get that feel. And then if you like it, maybe you'll try things. Also then play the other ones like we all do. So there you go. Well, I think that is good then. It was a nice diversion. I liked having something to go in and try out. I'm also still playing a little Ark on the side. I'm at that stage in Ark where I'm just like, I just log in for a little bit every morning to hatch some eggs. One of the things we were supposed to get with Ark this week, with the 5.5 update that was supposed to come on Monday, is a thing called the egg incubator. And it's a machine that holds 10 eggs and hatch it and incubates them until they're ready to hatch. And then you can press a button and hatch any one of those 10 eggs. Right now, you have to alarm clock it. And we're up to this point in the game where I'm hatching like Giganotosauruses and Carcharodontosaurus. And those eggs take 5 hours to hatch, even with our like advanced rates on our private server. 5 hours. So you have to like set an alarm clock if you like leave the egg out in the morning, so you remember to come back 5 hours later. Because if you don't come back when the egg hatches, the baby will die.
Oh no.
So it is annoying. If I can just put it in an egg incubator, then great. So we were supposed to get that on Monday. Now I have a bunch of eggs building up because I'm waiting for this thing. Because the other thing we hope is you could just dump all the eggs in the egg incubator and then look at them and see if they've got the right stats that you want. Because that's the other thing we're doing is we're trying to get the mutations on the egg. And each egg, so you might have like one of our players, Nepthen, has 50 T-Rexes in a big pile in his base. And he hatched them all at once so they would be in this big pile in a confined area. So they all lay eggs every day because you have like a 1 in 50 chance of getting a mutation. So that's a big mutation farm. But then you have to check 50 eggs and you have to lay each egg on the ground and look at it to see, because they all get picked up by a little dino called an oviraptor. So you have to look at each egg, you have to lay it on the ground and look at it and see if you got the mutation, if there was that 1 in 50. So being able to put them all on a machine and look at them all at once without having to like click and lay it on the ground and then look at it and pick it up if it's the wrong one, and would be great. But we didn't get it, did we? So hopefully we get it tonight. And we're going to be playing Dune for a little while, but then we can still hatch some eggs once in a while in Ark.
Hatch those eggs.
How about you, Sema? Doing anything besides our SWTOR fun, which we're trying to
I
wrap up our
finally
season?
dipped my toe into horrific visions in WoW, which I had been putting off.
Yes. How'd that go? Yeah, I'm
It went
interested.
swimmingly. It was fantastic. Way better than it was in BFA. And I did not use the AI companion because I heard that makes the mobs in there have more health and hit harder, which wasn't what I was looking for, especially as I was just feeling my way and figuring things out and remembering how it works. But then I also read someone say that they thought that was a bug, so maybe that's something they'll adjust. I don't know. Anyway, it's fine because my character had no problem killing anything. It wasn't about killing things, it was about your sanity draining and getting things done before your sanity
Before you
drains.
have to get out.
Right. But by the end, you build up enough talents that even then the sanity draining isn't a big factor. So like this fight that you're showing right now.
Yep, I remember it.
Yeah, and it was a pain because you had to turn your back to these eyeballs because they would drain your sanity. Now, I mean, you're still supposed to do that, but I can kill him in like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Or
okay.
very, very quickly. So it's a different experience. I don't know if it's like I don't want to say it's like modern Blizzard take on it or whatever, but it's a different experience than I remember from BFA. Now, granted, I haven't gone down the path of trying to get every achievement and doing blah, 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 this and that, but that's there if you want to do that. But what I was after was the Hellman chant, which that's an advantage to me in our raids. So I wanted to get that, or an advantage to the team. So yeah, I was really surprised. I started at the end of the week last week. I did a few runs, and then I finished it up today. And now I have my enchant. So now if I want, I can go back to Horrific Visions to get the cosmetic stuff, or because somebody else wants to do it, or it's a fun activity. I don't have to do it because I already got I got the minimum that I needed from it. So I'm cool. I'm feeling good. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good. I had heard some conflicting reports on whether people were liking them or not.
It is tedious. Like I did have to go multiple times and do the same fights. But before it was tedious and hard.
Yeah. Right. Having it be a sort of like a side thing that you can grind
Right.
out
Like
and idle activity and
yeah.
watch
I mean,
YouTube
and
on the
now
side. That's
my
cool.
sanity lasts long enough that I can go exploring if I want to. I can
Yeah, that's right. Because there was
find all
always
the
like,
little things.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember you were, especially in the beginning, you were on a ton of time pressure and you were like
Yeah.
booking.
Yeah.
And you had to like remember and learn where everything was. And things changed, moved around a little bit. The map stayed the same, but like the bosses and who you needed to go find and fight changed. So you'd be like
I
booking around trying to find them. And
It might
it was-
get, if you start doing the extra, modes of it, then with the helmets and everything, then maybe it gets a lot more difficult.
the masks,
And that's good.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, the masks,
You
that's
do
right.
like an
But
8 mask run, then you're going to be in trouble.
but I feel like I can do that if I want to, or I can do something else, which is good because I like to hang out right now in my alone game time play. I like to hang out in hardcore. And so like sometimes having to go to retail is like a break in that rhythm. And I
Yeah.
was just really, really pleased with how this came out for me.
Good. Good. And then in SWOTOR, what we're finishing up, I still have like 15 to 18, probably like 3 weeks of objectives to get the whole meta achievement, to get up to
Yeah.
100. And that's the only thing I have left to do is just do any of the objectives. You can only do 7 a week. So just like, 3 weeks and I should be done.
I still need to do 30-ish or maybe 35 objectives, but still pretty
I thought you only had to
pretty
do like 20, 25. 'Cause I thought
maybe.
I had like
What?
19 and I thought you had like 25 to go.
Yeah, maybe, but
Yeah, you were like at
that
78 or something. Yeah.
the end is definitely in sight.
Yeah. And then all of the
comfortably
other
in sight,
things
yeah.
we have gotten done. But it still gives us something to do on our group nights.
Well, I
Both,
still have four DVL bosses that I have to get.
I did see our ops leader asking if we were going to do our ops team tomorrow night. I don't know. He said, because he's going to be playing Dune too, Dune as
Yeah.
well, and said, "Is it a Dune night tomorrow night? I don't know what we're doing."
I think it was kind of wishful thinking.
Actually, 3 out of our team of 8 are confirmed for.
So it is a
Dune.
Dune night, but for 2 hours it's going to be a Star Wars Zero Republic
Is it?
night.
Okay. I said I would do, I might have Dune on the second screen, but
I'm
I would do a Star Wars
untwisty.
night.
I'm being untwisty.
Okay. We'll tell those guys because they could propose an alternate approach.
They could.
I will go with the majority. Majority
for sure.
view. If we get people like are out, and I could see it devolving into a Dune night. But then you will have to come in to our voice chat and come watch us play Dune then, Sema.
I might do that. Yeah, that sounds like fun to me.
I don't know if I'll be streaming it. Like if people really said, "Hey Max, stream it," I might. But at a minimum, if people jump in the Discord and say, "Hey, show me what you're doing," well, any of us in there would share in Discord. So feel free to do that. All right, I think that is it for us for today. Then I'm gonna edit this up tonight and have it ready to go because I cannot be doing editing and publishing. I can't take time out of the Dune launch tomorrow to do it. So this is going to get done tonight. I already made the thumbnails for this show earlier today.
Have you done like your meal prep? I'm imagining like a stack of little dishes filled with like.
I have a big box of Cliff Bars. I could live on Cliff Bars if I had to, but no, we've food's okay. I'm not gonna no life it. I will make food.
I know.
I am gonna get a run in early, but every other day I'm gonna take a break and go for runs and cook food and be reasonable.
I'm gonna go cook some food right now.
I think I'm gonna do that too. So all the Fiend Subscribe links are on newoverlords.com, and our video is up on YouTube/newoverlords. Please come chat with us in our Discord at newoverlords.com/Discord. You can also follow on all the social networks, and we'll keep you up to date there too. And with that, we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.